and welcome to the Checkered Flag, the official podcast of Finish Line Racing of Forza Test Drive and F1 community. So, obviously, hopefully you've looked at the title of the podcast and you see that we're talking about four-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive. And this is another podcast listener request, actually. This is from Jennifer D. from Wichita, Nebraska. Another Nebraska person. Very funny. Anyway, so now she wanted to know, actually, when it's snowy out, what should she take? A forward-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive? And now this is not, I'm not doing a comparison between them and all-wheel drive and forward-wheel drive. You know, I'm doing just between four-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. And when I say forward, F-O-R-W-A-R-D, I have a thick tongue, so I have to get kind of past that. But anyway, so she wanted to know that, and basically I'm just going to tell her. So Jennifer, also you're getting a t-shirt, by the way. So anyway, so about around since the 1920s, the front-wheel drive didn't catch on with American consumers until the gas crisis in the 1970s. And so, you know, when Americans struggled against the high fuel prices, the automakers began to see new ways to increase the fuel efficiency of their cars. And, of course, the best way was to reduce the size and the weight of the cars. But, you know, Detroit really aimed to make the cars smaller. They needed more an efficient layout than would yield more interior room in a smaller package. So, of course, like you maybe see that in the Nissan Cube or something like that. Front-wheel drive is a solution. By placing the engine and transit axle in the front, there's no large transmission housing or drive shaft tunnel running through the passenger compartment. And that's a big help, actually. So now, of course, they found, you know, other ways to, shave off some weight and other things like that. But really, there's no other way to make the car smaller. And then there's another added advantage as well, though. You know, with 60% of its weight at the front, 40% at the back, you know, the front-wheel drive holds an advantage in slippery conditions, such as the ice or snow, where there's more weight over the drive wheels to reduce slip during acceleration. So there you go, Jennifer D. That is your answer. Of course, now you may be wondering about all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. And I called front-wheel drive forward-wheel drive. I'm not sure why. Anyway, so I'm not going to go into major discussions about this because there's much debate about it. But, really I'm going to just go over to the rear-wheel drive here first. And most advantages end up there, though. You know, as most of the weight in front, a front-wheel drive car is not as well balanced and doesn't handle quite as well. And, also that they have the torque steer, which is kind of a problem. And, really any car that exceeds over 250 horsepower, that's a major problem with it. But, you may not have it. And, of course, torque steer, what that is when you accelerate, if let's say you're accelerating around a corner, whatever it may be, that you may have some tugging in the wheel, you may have to fight the wheel a little bit. And then, of course, prior to the fuel crisis in the 1970s, the rear-wheel drive was the king. Just about every vehicle, from economy to luxury, came with rear-wheel drive. And then it took maybe about 10 years, a decade, from rear-wheel drive to front. And since the mid-'80s or so, just about every economy car, family sedan, minivan, and even many sports coupes came with front-wheel drive. And then, of course, you have, luxury marques such as BMW, Mercedes-Benz. They kept using the rear-wheel drive. But then Cadillac moved every vehicle to front-wheel drive. And that's not a big surprise. They like to go with the competition. And once again, times have changed. Over the last few years, we've seen more and more vehicles with rear-wheel drive. Why is that? It's very simple, actually. And basically, as cars became more powerful, it's difficult to have one set of wheels doing the steering and acceleration. By having the front wheels do the steering and the rear wheels driving the car, you get a better balanced vehicle. This eliminates torque steer and improves acceleration. Rear-wheel drive cars offer better weight distribution, more about 50-50 than front-wheel drive cars, which in turn offers more predictable handling. Finally, with the advent of traction control and stability management systems, front-wheel drive advantage in slippery, wet conditions have been significantly reduced. More and more rear-wheel drive vehicles have the option of all-wheel drive as well. And if nothing else, it's a great way for automakers to hedge their bet. So now, of course, you may be wondering, wait, didn't I already answer the question and say that front-wheel drive cars are better than rear-wheel drive cars in snow and slippery conditions? I would still have to say that they are, just because that rear-wheel drive is not perfect, and it actually, no matter what you put on, traction control, stability control, it's still going to end up maybe with the rear end around in a snowstorm or something like that. Of course, you have today's cars more powerful, and they also yield better fuel economy. But you got to really put it in advantage in terms of packaging efficiency, and then with front-wheel drive, of course, they offer greater interior room in a smaller package. They can also have a shorter wheelbase, things like that. But the rear-wheel drive provides better handling and acceleration. So, of course, really you have to look at it, each way, just determine what you need, what you want. And to Jennifer, of course, I would still stay with the front-wheel drive rather than the rear-wheel drive. And so now I actually will talk about all-wheel drive and things like that, with the four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive difference. Really, basically, I'm not going to go into it as much as I did with the other two drive types. But all-wheel drive, what that encompasses is that you have four wheels. They all get power from the engine. And what it is that you have maybe, I would just to say two differentials, one in the front, one in the back, and that controls power to the wheels. They can lock up, providing maximum traction, things like that. And of course, though, with four-wheel drive, it's more independent than you have in all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive, you have 100% power to all four wheels at the same time. Usually 25, 25, 25, 25 to each wheel, whatever it may be. And that can only be limited it's only a certain amount of limitations it can have on it versus, a four-wheel drive car. It can have, 100% power to one wheel if it needed to. I'm not sure you really have to, but you'll see maybe all-wheel drive. They have that in all Audis. They have it in, Lamborghinis, things like that. You'll see maybe the four-wheel drive in maybe some off-roading vehicles, such as like Jeeps, Land Rovers, Range Rovers, which I do not know the difference of, things like that. Once again, I can't really say just about performance, things like that. Man, I say that a lot. I would have to say, actually, that all-wheel drive may offer maybe a bit better performance than four-wheel drive, and that also four-wheel drive is newer technology, so you may have maybe a couple of issues that you may have to take care of, and I would just see it more features, more reasons for things to break. It's not necessary. I wouldn't get four-wheel drive. I would just have all-wheel drive. I'm not off-roading. I don't have any off-road places near me to actually use off-roading anyway. So, of course, I would stick with all-wheel drive. Of course, with Audi, they have the Quattro system, so that's the best you can get, really. And, there's, of course, you're going to find age-old debates, saying one thing the other. This is just my opinion, so hopefully I don't get a lot of emails complaining about that. And anyway, that's basically it. I'm keeping these podcasts short, 10 minutes around that, just to make it easy for you. I'm not going to make you sit here through a half-hour-long thing. I can make that, but I'm not going to do that. So basically, if you want to check out more, you can visit us on the web, www.flrleague.org. You can podcast email. You can check us out there, podcast@flrleague.org, flrleague.org. Some people ask that. You can tweet us at @FLR_league. Check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/FLR Team Racing. And you can also Facebook us, facebook.com/Finish Line Racing, which is all one word. So that's basically it. Jennifer D., you're getting a t-shirt. And, of course, you can, like I said, email us. And if your podcast suggestion gets read on the air, you get a t-shirt, Checkered Flag. I do not have images of it yet, but basically the way it works is that I give you a code, and then you go to the website, this one online store. You just put in the code, and the shipping's free. The t-shirt is free. You can change the color of the t-shirt, the size, whatever. And that way, I actually do not get your address to your house. So if you feel safe that way, that's basically it. So have a good day.